What's up, guys? Coach Asser. Thank you for joining me with OTF Audio Daily Beats. Always, if you're new, appreciate you tuning in. Listen to me talk about these workouts. If you find value in them, information is in the description to support me. And then if you have any feedback to better support you, please let me know. I'll preface this saying that my little guy is up and about, so there's a good chance you might hear him scream, run around. He might even make an appearance. You never know. We're going to break down Sunday, October 5th, and this will repeat on Saturday the 18th. The 2G and the 3G do have tread cards. We're going to see a tread row on the 2G, of course, and then a tread recovery on the 3G, endurance on the treads, power on the rower, strength on the weight floor, break down the 2G, break down the 3G, all that bells and whistles. Let's get into it. So we're going to start off with the 2G key concepts. We're going to have a tread distance that goes up, then down, but the row is always 150 meter all-out row. Can you keep your tread intensity as the distance changes? On the floor, you got 3 blocks. You prep in block 1, construct exercises in block 2, and then all core in block 3. You do need the BOSUs out, and of course, they'll be using dumbbells today. So we're going to start off looking at the treads rowers. As always, when we have like a day like this, if you do have 2 groups, put wipes out on the rowers so that way after that 3-minute warm-up, they could have that courtesy to wipe down the rower before they head to the weight floor. That way the tread group, when they go to the rower, they have a clean rower. So on the treads, we're going to see a total of 7 rounds. It starts with a 0.1 tread. Every round it increases by 0.1, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4. That's the top of the pyramid. Then they work their way back down, 0.3, 0.2, 0.1. Okay, after each tread distance, they will transition to the rower, and they'll knock out a 150-meter all-out row. And the goal here is maintain tread intensity and match or beat the row time. So knowing that they will eventually go to like a 0.4 tread distance, they might approach this with a more conservative effort rather than being aggressive. And that's going to be for the more like the people who want to feel successful without overexerting too much. So they recommend, power walkers, they choose their incline 1% or greater for that 0.05. Joggers and runners, today is a good day just to maintain base or a conservative push, so maybe about 1 over their base speed. For the bikes and striders, keep it around like a base to base push gear, if not more, because once again, have that foresight knowing that eventually whatever they do for round 1, can they maintain it all the way for that round 4 distance where they go for 0.4 on the treads, 0.2 on the, or 0.1, 0.05 for the power walkers, and then the bikes and striders, of course, they have their distance that they're trying to knock out. Okay. Actually, I take that back. For the power walkers, it is a misprint. It should be 0.2 on the templated desk. That's 0.15. So just be aware of that. Anyways, clear out the screen, track their distance. As soon as they hit it, remind them that they need to hit the stop key twice if they want to log into the rowers. And of course, safety is a priority. So make sure that they stop the belt before they step off. Don't surf, don't hop off the rails, all that fun stuff. When they go to the rowers, strap in, 150-meter all-out row. Most people about 40 seconds or less. Approach this with that 1-to-1 tempo, so a higher stroke rate, 28 plus, 8 or 9, maybe 10 out of 10 on that leg drive. Very explosive on that drive back, and then they want to think about digging their heels into those cradles to almost do like a hamstring curl to pull themselves forward, and that way they could return quick and then explode back fast to keep that momentum going, to keep high wattage, to finish as quick as possible. Because it's an all-out row, they'll definitely need to recover, and their recovery is actually the transition to the treadmill, and then they recover until they're ready to begin. So when they get to the treads, they could walk, they could get to base, and then when they're ready, they start round 2. Round 2 is that 0.2, so clear out the screen and repeat. Once they get to round 4, when they come back to the treads for round 5 onwards, now the distances get shorter. So there's 2 approaches. Can they keep that same intensity? Or because it's shorter and they're feeling pretty good, could they add to that intensity? Okay? Even if it's a 0.1 increase, it's still an add. It's still a great success to celebrate for those members who challenge themselves like that. But also keep in mind, is that rower time staying consistent? Are they matching it? Are they improving? If you notice that there is a discrepancy of like 3 to 5 or even 10 seconds row after row, that might be a conversation to have off mic of either form technique correction, Or maybe they're being too aggressive on the treads, catch their breath a little bit before they start that row. Or maybe they're just daydreaming, because you get that a lot on a tread row day like this. Now, if they make it through round 7, they have the choice. They can stay on the rower, row until the finisher, or they go back up to the treads and tread until the finisher. They'll finish at whatever station that they be at. They'll do a 1 minute all out on the treads or a 1 minute all out row. So they have a total of 23.5 minutes to get through as much of your 7 rounds as possible. And then they have that all out at that 22:30 mark. So just keep that in mind. All in all, tread rower, this looks like a lot of fun. So use that follow the leader approach as you kind of remind whoever is the first one done what's going to happen next. And if you have that foresight to kind of take notice of what speed people are using in rounds 1 and 2, if they're still using it in rounds 3 and 4, celebrate them over the mic for doing that, you know. Or if you see them increasing, definitely shout that out as well. All right, looking at the weight floor, blocks 1 and 3 incorporate the BOSU. Block 1 is a primer block. Block 2 is just a very simple strength, work, and rest construction block. And then block 3 is a core blast with the BOSU. So for the primer, we're going to see knee-in tricep extensions. So they're on both knees, dumbbells overhead, extend up and down for 6 to 8 reps. BOSU bridge with the feet on the BOSU. If they have their feet close, it's going to be a lot more instability work to deal with. So if they have a wider stance on that BOSU, they do have to think about trying to squeeze the heels into that BOSU to maintain a good grip. So they may feel some like inner thigh activation with that as they bridge up and back down, of course with a dumbbell. And then keeping that position, they'll go into a bridge hold with a dumbbell pullover. So a nice little mix up of, you know, shoulder extension and then hitting the triceps, some glute activation, and then some upper back stretching and engagement with that pullover. They'll repeat that for 5 minutes. So in all honesty, once they get set up, as you're explaining the tread rowers group, for that weight floor group, if they can get started right away, they'll probably knock out 3 rounds. If they wait until you start the tread group, they'll only probably get about 2 rounds. Once they finish and they move to block 2, put the BOSU to the side, but obviously don't clean it up because they will need it in block 3. Block 2, we're going to see a total of 3 rounds of work where each round progressively gets more complex. So round 1, they have the most simplest things. Dumbbell low row, deadlift, bicep curl, shoulder press. 8 reps each. Each movement could use a different weight selection. Just keep in mind, whatever they do for the low row, they'll probably need that in round 2. Whatever they could do for the shoulder press, actually I take back, whatever they could do for the bicep curl is probably what they'll need for round 2 as well. Okay, round 2, we're going to see the deadlift to low row, and for 8 reps, and then the bicep curl to shoulder press for 8 reps. So with this one, of course, with the deadlift, you know, starting with the weights, you know, in front, they'll hinge, they might have to rotate, then pull, and then come back up, totally fine. And then the bicep curl, they'll come up here, and then as they'll rotate out, press overhead, and then all the way back down. Now, round 3 is the complicated one. This is where they put it all together. The name for this one is very confusing because they do mention deadlift, but they naturally do a deadlift to get set up for that low row. So the movement is called a low row to neutral grip deadlift to bicep curl to shoulder press. But if they start here, the deadlift is part of the movement. So they'll hinge, they'll hit the row when the arms are extended, they'll stand up, then bicep curl, and then shoulder press back down. Okay. This is a movement that has come up quite frequently in the past, and I've seen it like on Facebook, on Reddit, or even in my studio. People will do like, they'll hinge, they do the row, and then they'll come up and then they'll do a deadlift because they see the name. But the deadlift is the setup of the row. So here's the, you know, eccentric phase of the deadlift. They hit the row. Here's the concentric phase of the deadlift. There you go. Okay. For that round 3 movement, whatever weight that they did for the bicep curl to shoulder press is probably what they'll need to use for their 8 reps there. After each movement, they should take a break before they move to the next one. When they finish round 3, they will repeat their favorite exercises from the block until time is called. With 10.5 minutes here, if they go heavy enough where they need to rest, you know, you think about it, break it down, each movement will take about 45 seconds to a minute because, you know, grabbing weights, getting set up and all that. So you have 4, 5, 6, 7 movements, they should get through everything and maybe have 1 to 3 minutes for the bonus. Okay. When they're done with that, when we move to the next block, wipe down the dumbbells, put them up, and then we go into the BOSU work. Here they have 5 minutes timed up with you. We're going to do 45 seconds of work, 15 seconds of rest for these 5 different movements. So movement number 1 is going to be the BOSU alternated toe reach. Then they'll rest. Then they hit the low side plank dip. The elbow is going to be on the BOSU. They're going to start on that high side plank. They lower the hip towards the floor, come back up. They could have this with the bottom knee bent as an alternative. They'll rest. They go into the BOSU superhero. Very tough movement to do, so a good alternative is to do like an alternated superhero, so they could use one hand planted on the floor, the opposite foot planted into the floor as they press and lift up. And then they go into the other side for the hip dip, and then they finish off with the BOSU flutter kick for the last minute. And then they are done. Core should be toasted because obviously there's going to be a lot of flexion, extension, and stabilization through the obliques, the rectus, the transverse, the rectors, like everything's getting targeted in that block. So that way for the group that starts on the weight floor, when they get to that part, a lot of core activation, their core should be lit up, so that way when they do go to that run row, their core is strong and talking to them so they can maintain good spinal alignment, good posture, a strong brace, especially when they're doing those all-out rows, so that way they minimize the chance of getting hurt. Okay. For the group that started on the treads, when they get to this, it's the very end of class, they're probably just going to try to survive, really. All right, anyways, let's look at the 3G. So 3G, treads do have their own card, and it's basically the same thing as a 2G without the rowing. So they have a 0.1 mile tread. They take a walk recovery until they're ready to begin the next round. Then 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, and then they work their way down. 0.3, 0.2, 0.1. If they complete all 7 rounds, then they tread until the 1 minute all out. They do have 14 minutes here, so really 13 minutes to get through their 7 rounds. The bonus is that tread until the finisher, 13-minute mark, send them for that all-out effort. All right. For the rowers, it's set up very similar to the treadmills where the distances go up, then they come back down. So they start with a 100-meter push all out, then eventually 2, 3, 400 meters, and then 3, 2, 1. The goal is to maintain the intensity as the distance changes. So with this shorter first row, you want to look more at like the average watts rather than like the instant watts or like their split time. Because for that 100-meter push all out, it's going to be over in like 20 seconds. So it's really hard to kind of gauge that. Otherwise, it's going to be like, hey, however long it took you to do that 100-meter all out or push all out, try to keep your 200-meter push all out at around double the time or under double the time. So if it takes them 20 seconds, can they knock out that 200-meter push all out in 40 seconds? 300 in 1 minute. The 400 in 1:20 20, right? Because that's going to be about the same amount of duration for each 100-meter section. When they finish with the row, they will have the alternated halo to reverse lunge. So they hit the halo one direction, reverse lunge, hit the halo the other direction, reverse lunge on the other side. When they finish all 7 rounds, they will either row or do the exercise until time for the finisher. So if they do row, have them wipe down that Y bell, put it back up. That way it's one less thing to worry about during the transition, and then just row. Otherwise, hit the Y bell movement until the 1 minute all out. When you look at this in terms of like the row time and the Y bell movement, starting off, being a conservative approach, about 20 seconds for 100 meters at a push all out, followed by 10 reps of that movement. It's going to probably put people around 1 minute to 1:15. And then, of course, every round will just increase by about 20 to 30 seconds. So most people should get through at least round 6. Stretching, maybe barely get through round 7. But if they are super aggressive and super quick and they take very minimal downtime on the round between, they might get through all 7 rounds. Now, the weight floor, it's going to be 2 blocks. Block 1 is the primer from the 2G, but it's only for 4.5 minutes. Then you have 90 seconds to get them set up with the construct block from the 2G. So row, deadlift, bicep curl, shoulder press, deadlift to low row, bicep curl to shoulder press, and then row, deadlift, bicep curl to shoulder press for 8 reps. And then the same thing, they'll repeat their favorite movements until the finisher, which the finisher is that round 3 movement for a minute straight. And then they are done. There you go. Anyways, enough rambling from me on this workout. October 5th, repeats on the 18th. On that, coach it down.